Alrighty, so as we know, last week we started out at Deep Space 17. We got to know a couple of the key figures there, most notably Dr. Mountain and Commander Reef, both of which actually ended up, well, traveling with us a little further than we expected. But before we get a little too far ahead, as the Doctor, as Dr. Mountain of Deep Space 17 conversed with most of the officers, um, asking them for assistance with an ongoing project and, well, calamity that the Federation has been facing due to this ebb and expanse. Um, Captain Morgana had a private meeting with the station commander that, well, started off tense, but got a little hectic when Admiral Keller came in and assigned the Nightingale to answer a distress call, and, well, assigned the commander of the station, Arif, to go with them. Um, Neither Arif nor Morgana were happy about the situation. Morgana even decided to mess up Arif's rug by throwing a potted plant. But perhaps that will be forgiven, and as the team met back up and decided to warp to the designated coordinates, Dr. Mountain trailed along in holographic form, making use of the Nightingale's extensive holographic grid and jacking in from um, the holodeck himself. He was able to continue to help Vanderveers and Hakuri in trying to ascertain what is going on with the Expanse. Um, Kiana's part of the project was cut a little bit short when the Nightingale actually reached the coordinates and found a uh, powered down and, well, broken Hirogen ship. Upon further examination, they discovered that this Hirogen ship not only was carrying quite a dangerous piece of cargo, which, well, at the moment not dangerous because it's dead, but it was a waterborne creature about 20 meters in length, and um, the team discovered by rifling through the computers that this ship was part of a larger group that is essentially absconding with dangerous prey in order to create a hunting planet. Not knowing where the planet was, and with the Nightingale receiving quite a large number of ships warping in, the away team beamed back, only to discover that the entrance was not quite complete, as half a dozen Hirogen ships decided to warp in at pretty much the same time. So, with all that being said, and all that excitement running around, I am gonna start things off where, well, quite frankly, it makes the most sense. Um, in our laboratory, I'm actually going to rewind time about 10 or 15 minutes, and as the away team is on the ship, Dr. Vanderveers, not, well, quite frankly, hopefully, for his sake, ignorant of the goings on outside of his little lab, is working with Dr. Mountain. And uh, as they as they proceed in their working, they are just about ready to engage in practical tests. And if I remember correctly, the plan as of last week was to clone uh, or essentially infect a clone. Though you may correct me if I'm wrong, and Well, you've had the lab to yourself. So if you had a different experiment that you've been working on, please.
Hmm. We have a science type available.
Um, looking
Vanderveer wants someone who's good with science. He's got an idea.
okay. Let's see. And as you go down the list of science officers that are assigned to you, you can see that you have six specialists at the moment, at least in the science department. Uh, probably, probably your best all around science guy is gonna be Andos, the Bajor.
Go Team Bajor.
Yeah, well,
Let's call him in.
Absolutely. And a couple moments later, you can see the doors whisk open as I realize I think I'm on the GM layer putting stuff on. There we go. Um, and as the doors whisk open, he, having met you a few times before, says, "Ah, Dr. Vanderveers," and then looks at the hologram and looks a little puzzled and says, "Oh, doctor? Sorry, I thought I knew everyone that was on board."
Well, technically, he's not on board, but I digress. What do you know about nuclear medicine?
Uh, nuclear medicine and us kind of parrots back at you as you see the bridges of his nose get even more scrunched than usual. And he says, I know a fair bit. It's not my specialty, but I like to dabble, and well, quite frankly, I believe I've kept up on most of the current papers and some of the older ones.
Excellent. I'm assuming you're more familiar with just radiation, right?
Um, mostly its effects rather than its causes. However, I can't lie. The interplay of the chemicals and electricity that creates it is something that I can't deny being fascinated with.
Excellent. It's always good to work on something you're interested in. Now, I was thinking if I take a piece of this biopsy lung tissue and suspend it in an oxygenated liquid, if I use a radioactive compound attached to the oxygen molecule, I'm looking for things in traditional medical sense, not all this science stuff you're used to. If I take the medical readings, can you take a look at all the spectrums of radiation this thing puts out?
Um, nodding, uh, nodding, and thus says, absolutely. And as he goes to the console, he hesitates for a moment and looks back and says, "Sir, um, we won't uh, we won't be exposed to this, will we?"
Nah, it's in a contained system. It's in a tube.
Excellent. Looking a little. Uh, uh, nope. Yep. Excellent. Looking a little bit relieved, but not. 100%. He nods and heads to the console. And he says, "All set, Doc."
And I mean, I want everything, like subspace, subatomic, submolecular, submarine, all of it.
The full nine, sir. Um, and and as you go to as you go to, I suppose, suspend it or conduct the actual experiment. You can see Andas hard bent over the console, not trying to miss anything. And as he's looking at the scientific aspects of it, you're looking at the medical aspects. Why don't we do? So I'm gonna put the difficulty at. I'm gonna put the difficulty at 5, but I'm gonna add your and Andis's successes together. I'm gonna for you. I would like either control or reason, or even insight with medicine. For Andas, I'm thinking control science.
Let me get a third dice for
Yep.
Vanderveer for a threat, please.
Absolutely, and you should know that I'm gonna have you roll first, but I will be spending 3 threat for 2 extra dice.
Give me just a second. I'll pull up Andos. You said control science?
Yes, sir. It should already be pretty much set in.
And he's got his own roll.
Yes, but he's rolling 3 dice, and he does have a focus.
All right.
Okay. So hold on. 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 7. So this is 7 altogether, giving you 2 momentum. Um, all right. I spent 3 threat to help you all out. Uh, but I'll be honest. You can either um, I'm gonna take the threat back, unless you want to kill it with momentum.
I'm killing it with momentum for now.
Okay.
Sure.
I,
As I now have to clear my throat. Sorry.
what's up?
Oh, nothing. It's fine. Go ahead.
Um, and as the two of you work in tandem, we'll go with your results first. Almost immediately, um, as you and just to this was the lung biopsy, right?
Yeah, the section of tissue would be the piece of lung.
Um, Almost immediately as you introduce this, it starts. You can see on the screens that your charts are showing that, and you're looking. You can start to see some immediate effects, and as you kind of zoom in, almost to looking at the DNA itself, you can see the double helix start to actually un, unravel and break down in front of your eyes, and as that's happening, you can tell that this is certainly. Uh, Well, what's causing these medical issues is, at least at the base, is this DNA breakdown. Though, though at least from your side of the room, you can't tell what it is, and though the sample size is too small to really determine what effects would occur from this breakdown, you could easily determine that most of them under the sun would be attributable to this. And as you're watching this happen, you can hear a whistle from across the room, and as Andas looks calls back from his screen, he says, uh, "Sir, you might want to take a look at this. It doesn't look like there's um, it doesn't look like there's any sort of radiation being emitted or whatnot, but it it almost there's some sort of change happening at the subatomic level, sir." And and he says, "I don't, by the prophets, I've never seen anything like it. Please, can you uh, just?" He almost looks flabbergasted as he says, "Can you double check my readings?" I And he just looked shocked.
He'll come over to the console. He'll study it for a minute.
Um, and uh, as Andos has done the lion's share of the work, as you come over and take a look, and you can see immediately, no, it's not exactly your field, but well, quite frankly, you're a pretty smart guy, so um, why don't you give me a reason science, and then just difficulty one due to Andos's um, just due to the fact that you're kind of proofreading his assessment, and I'd take presence science also.
You said the first one could be reason.
Yes.
I'll take reason science.
Excellent, gaining that momentum back, and or a momentum back as you look over the screen, and you seem almost flabbergasted as he was, as what the sample that you introduced. It is introducing changes at the subatomic level. It would appear that as you zoom in even further from that DNA strand, making that look like um, planets and galaxies, you can take a look at the individual atoms themselves, and while the atoms seem perfectly aligned and correct, as Andas helpfully hits the zoom button one more time, it goes down to the size of an electron, and you can see that whatever whatever you introduce, the process, it's actually uh, physically switching something, or the electron itself, into a wholly new particle, and that is essentially causing a chain reaction into organic species that's starting this unravel, which is leading to this outcropping of various illnesses. And and simply looks over and says, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing, sir?"
I mean, I'm no expert in ionizing radiation, but it looks right. But if that is the case, if it's subatomic, I mean, for every particle, there's an antiparticle, right?
Yeah, he says.
So in theory, something should be able to negate it. And if we can't do that, I know if you shoot radiation at a sheet of lead, it doesn't go through it. Maybe we could find something to coat these cells with.
As Andal looks at you, and um, it takes a few moments for kind of what you said to actually sink in. Um, but as it does, he says, "Wow, I what a novel idea." So you're essentially, and he kind of smiles a bit as he says, "You basically want to cover us with lead somehow."
Well, not lead, but yeah, inject some kind of stuff. You know, like when they look at your gastric system, they give you this goop and you drink that and it coats the inside of your gastric system. So when you go in for a scan, it lights up like a Christmas tree, you know?
And he nods.
If we can do that with something that sticks around longer, with a really stupid long half life, if we can find something that stops it, we should be able to do that.
And as understanding slowly starts to build into his facial expression, and Dr. Mountain opens his mouth to say something, uh, that's when suddenly the lights get dim, and you start to hear the red alert sirens, and actually, that's gonna bring us up to the present, where I'm gonna flip us over to the bridge, where uh, Captain Morgana is sitting well, I don't know about comfortably, but we'll say that Commander Desesh, Jill, and Kiana have just exited the turbo lift to the bridge while the Hirogen ships are just warping in.
Mm-hmm.
Jill goes straight for the tactical console.
Yep. I'll go to the first officer's position. Report in. The shields presumably are up because we're at red alert, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll go over near you so that way I can help on the.
What the hell's a Christmas tree? That's funny. All right.
Do we have someone at the science station trying to figure out who these unknown ships are?
Um,
Yes, I'm over at the computer trying to figure that out right now.
Okay. I acknowledge your presence then and let you carry on.
All right. Um. Okay, somebody's getting a phone call. Anyway, right. She'll say put out a open the hailing frequencies. She says. Oops, sorry. Open the hailing frequencies.
um, Goodman Gamil looks back and says, "To which ship or which set of ships,
All
Captain?"
of them, she says.
Whichever ones pick up.
Okay.
All
Grab the
that.
big phone.
All right. And as you send out the, I guess, Omni hail, it takes a couple moments, but the view screen blinks on, and as as it does, let me move something to the. You see the dual image of, well, a Hirogen on one side and a species that you've quite frankly never seen before on the other. I don't need to describe the Hirogen because I think we all as players know what they look like. However, in terms of the other one, for the most part, well, it looks like a human female. She appears to be standing in her own command center. You can't see anyone else on the screen. However, you can see your own ship in the background of one of her secondary view screens, and the only actually thing that, well, seems to differentiate herself from a human is the fingers that you can see on her hands seem, well, a little long and slender. Not overly so, but just a little too much to be human.
Mm-hmm. She'll start off with, "This is Captain Nira Morgana of the USS Nightingale. And, well, frankly, your reasons for being here would be greatly appreciative," she says.
Um, uh, as they both start speaking at once,
She goes,
uh,
one at a time.
well, before you can do that, as they both start speaking at once, I'm sorry, the Hirogen's voice can be heard starting to say, "We come hunting our own," but then it becomes drowned out by the female's attempted communication, which is, well, quite frankly, difficult for you all to understand. The UT seems to be having a little trouble, and as she gestures, as she speaks, there's a cacophony of sound that, well, it's not unpleasant, but it's certainly different. And um, actually, as that's happening, why doesn't everyone on the bridge, so Kiana, Jill, Disesh, and Morgana, um, why don't each of you give me insight, an insight science roll? Um, Disesh and Kiana, you both have focuses, and Disesh, your difficulty is going to be 2 due to your focus, and everyone else's difficulty is going to be 4.
Uh,
Okay.
are we factoring in my talent, cultural flexibility, or is that what you were referring to?
Um,
Because
let,
that gives me a bonus for dealing with unknown cultures.
uh, hmm.
It should reduce. Usually, it would reduce the difficulty further by 1.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put your difficulty at 1.
Okay.
I'm going to argue the Elorian trait for lowering the difficulty for Nero to 3. I would classify this as a social combat or conflict.
I don't. It is not.
Okay, fine.
Well, that would definitely apply probably later on. It's for what I'm asking for this time around. It's not.
For Jill, I'd like to argue the the rising trait for of all the different cultures that visit the planet. There's a number of different languages.
You're asking if they've been to Ryza?
No, but just the sheer number of different cultures that go to Rise all the time. It's a wide variety of languages that they get exposed to on a constant basis.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
I'm expecting a no, but I figured I'd at least try to ask.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no to that one too.
Okay.
Well, I made the 1 success.
Yep, I'm waiting for the rolls to filter in before I.
Can I argue leadership as a focus?
No.
Okay.
Oh, Kiana did have a focus though.
I did, yeah. Kiana rolled with a focus, still got 00.
Oh, okay, that was my fault. All right. So as you all hear this cacophony of noise, uh, and the you can definitely tell that the UT is actually I should ask. Sorry. I know you guys only have 1 momentum, but do you want to do anything about that complication before I continue?
Which complicate? Oh, I rolled a complication. Okay. Uh, no. No, let's find out what the complication is.
Okay then. Um, as you uh, as you all start to hear this and listen to this and uh, it, it seems like the most of the crew can't really make heads or tails of it. Disash, you actually having studied uh, and well are a very able novice at musical theater, these sounds start to um, reverberate around the bridge, and you start to realize that there's almost a sing song or musical element to whatever this language is trying to translate as, and as you as you uh, as you realize that, well, why don't you tell me? So I know what the complication is, and we'll get to that. But as you start to realize that, what do you do?
I'm going to say I'm getting a pattern in the language, Captain. I'm going to try and clean up the universal translator, and I'm going to see if I can use my intuition I'm getting, and I want to try and see if I can get the computer to pick up on it to try and key in the universal translator.
Um, that is certainly fair. Hmm. And I'll open this up to assist too, if anyone should choose. But why don't you give me a either control or reason with science, difficulty 2.
Control or
I can assist if you like.
control science. does my musical theater focus come into play then? Since you implied that.
Yes, it does, and yes, you can, Kiana.
Okay. I would like to spend 1 threat for an additional die, or request
Oh,
1 threat.
Okie dokie. Oh, Jesus.
Oh man!
So we're not out of the woods. What would the consequence be if Jill assisted as well?
I think only one person can assist.
I will. The consequence would be I'd take away the ship's chance to assist, and I'd put 1 extra complication range for too many cooks.
Could I spend a determination to re-roll
Yep.
using my value? I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay. My sheer ego will give us another shot at this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. All right, here we go.
It's a ship full of type A's. We are doomed.
Did it seriously go that badly? Yep.
You
Okay.
rolled the same thing.
It's
Let me see what I can do here.
you wants it to happen, guys. We're
All right.
gonna have to roll with it.
So we're not out of the woods yet. I will take the extra complication. So what's the range?
2.
Okay. Doesn't have focus. Okay.
Wait, before you roll, since this is kind of, you don't have to, if you can come up with a different way to assist that's not control science, I'm allowed.
I was gonna argue. I was gonna go with reason science to pick up on the path that Desesh is going with. And okay, so we can't use the computer. That's fine. Is reason science okay?
Yeah, definitely.
What was the overall difficulty?
2.
All right. Okay, now Desesh. With open insightful, I can you can re-roll 1 of your dice.
All right, let's see if we can get that complication out of there then.
Please do, because I still
this
have
could
1
be-
in the bank.
So you just roll 1 dice, but I'm pretty sure you want to re-roll the one that's a complication, correct?
Yeah.
There we go.
There
And
we go.
Because it succeeded, we get another momentum on top.
Okay, so that's 2 for. So you would have gotten 2 momentum, so you get 3 momentum.
Correct.
Okay, then. Congratulations, everyone, for snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. As
Man.
I know, as Desesh, as you hunker down on the first officer's console to quickly try to run this this program through. um, you don't have much success, but then Kiana assisting you kind of sends you what she's done, and suddenly a new avenue is available to you. So you wipe your brow and you hunker down even harder and just try
If
to.
I can expand on it specifically, the brainstorm is that I tap the LCARs and like piano keys appear like on my console, and I start to use the tones of the piano because it's much easier than the verbally how I was trying to do it. So I'm like actually playing piano in order to like program the computer.
Oh, I really like that. And as you start to do that method, Joe looks over and kind of kind of starts to anticipate what your own next notes are going to be, and as you're inputting your own code, you can see there's a couple rows of sheet music start to appear that Jill is feeding you, and after a couple long intense moments, you're actually able to run the language through the database, and now we can circle back to that
Complication.
complication. And as 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 the UT starts to filter through, you realize that it's only about a 92% correlation rate. So there's definitely going to be mistranslated words here and there peppered in.
Okay.
Um,
Google Translate. Okay.
yes. So no, it's better than Google Translate. It's just it's still got some of the quirks left over.
All right.
When Google became Starfleet Command.
Mm-hmm.
That was Skynet. Um, but as now you can hear the message. Uh, as I struggle to remember what it was after all this, yes, the message plays back, and you can hear the woman saying, these heathens sullied our home with our um, by absconding with our uh, uh, wow, I'm blanking on
Just
an
make that one of the
untranslatable word happened.
untranslatable word.
Wow, that's like the best comp. That's gonna be the gift that keeps on giving.
All right. They went away with our blank. Okay. So while all of this computing has been going on, they're not firing on each other or anything, right?
would hope
No,
not.
they've been pleasantly staring at you all sullenly, waiting for responses.
Hmm. I would just like to ask Helm if, relatively speaking, we're in the middle of all of these people, because, if that's the case, we should either hold fast or maybe put some distance. And I look to the captain to sort of uh, see if she has a preference of which.
Mm. Uh, she's right now. She's just trying to. Uh, she's basically studying the view screen, as it were. Um, trying to look between the. Trying to figure out a crossroads, as it were, if she
Well,
can.
uh, I tell Helm to maintain our position in between the two forces. Then, unless we decide to change our mind, I figure we're the calming influence here.
And
So
Deers
far.
kind of calls back over her shoulder. Well, it appears like we've got Z-axis movement, but we've got Herodian to the back, unidentified to the front. Classic 2D pincer attack, sir.
It could very well be.
Right. So, she says, looking at the between the two, they took something from your home world. Well, this rogue ship. She looks at Dasan, or the Herodian. Sorry. Um, and says, "Is am I on the right page so far?"
Uh, and the Herodian simply looks back and says, uh, "I too am hunting this ship, for they took something from us as well."
Well, she says, looking at the two people. Unfortunately, for I can offer you both good news and bad news, she says. Which would you like first?
Um, as the Herodian simply crosses his arms and waits, uh, actually, it's almost strange as these two radically um, different species make almost mirror gestures as she crosses her arms over her body and glares at you, and almost as if silently demanding that you keep speaking.
She smirks a little bit and says, well, good news for you, she points. Whatever it was they took from your homeworld killed them all. She says, pointing at Dasan, good news for you is whatever they had, well, they no longer have it. She says, the bad news for both of you, your prey is dead. She says.
Um, Interesting. Why don't you give me, I guess, a presence command opposed against uh, both of these? Both of these?
Okie dokie.
Actually, no. Um, well, yes, I'm gonna state it like that. Yes.
What was the difficulty?
It's gonna be opposed versus
Okay.
the once I find the Herodian. There we go.
Because she has diffused the tension and her Lorian trait.
Um, so why don't I
That's why
say
she offered. That's why she offered the good news first.
those both lower the difficulty by one, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we'll say that due to those, because it's an opposed roll, you'll just start with two successes instead of instead of
Math hard.
yeah, because there's
Yeah.
it's easier that than me lopping off um
Can I support?
Oh no, I get an extra D20 for diffuse the tension.
and yes, you can.
Okay.
All right, so I'll add one success for the
Elorian.
yeah, and then one extra d20, and I'm gonna spend 3 threat on the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A threat and 2 momentum for me for the fourth die because I get the third one for free. And counseling as a focus.
Thinking. Yes.
Excellent. Oh wait, that's the wrong thing. Sorry. Much better. There we go. That's the right roll.
All right, so with your extra one in Deseshes, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's 2, 4, 6, 7 successes.
It is no, it is 6 successes. I
I
got 5, he got 1.
was
Plus the
giving
one
you
from The
Oh
Elorians.
yeah, plus the 1. Yeah, 7. Sorry.
So versus my 2, which is 5 momentum. All right, so get that out of the way. You guys are capped at momentum and have 1 bonus. Um, and as you start to talk, you can see almost before you even launch into it, you can see Desan. Jesus. You can see the Hirogen sit down rather calmly as he listens to what you have to say, and while while the people focusing on the unknown would see that while her hands are bunching into fists, they start to loosen slightly as the captain finishes, and as the Hirogen simply gestures in the view screen, allowing her to speak next. She says, "Well, if if um, if the quite frankly, if the thieves are dead, they got what they deserved, and um, as she kind of glares into the view screen, uh, she says, "This is not the first time I've seen their ships. This is the first time I've seen yours. Uh, who are you?"
We are a medical ship from the United Federation of Planets, she says. We're, well, we were reporting to a distress call. Unfortunately, we arrived too late, as you can tell.
Um, and actually, the bridge crew can hear in stereo as both of them essentially say at the same time, "That's what brought us here too." And the as the woman starts to glare again, the Hirogen quickly gets up and says, "Well, I suppose I should go next. My name is Dasan. I I am leader of my pack. I know of the Federation. I don't know of them."
Well, all things being considered, she says, as far as mishaps go, this could be worse. She says,
Um, and the woman breaks in and says, uh, "You said, I'm sorry." She says, "You said you were a medical cetacean. What's and that's the purpose of your school?"
that is the purpose of my crew, yes. Most of us on board are doctors. Healers, she says.
Um, and actually, that gets a bit of a reaction from Dasan, uh, as he says, "What's a medical ship doing this far out from Federation space?" He says curiously.
She says, Well, obviously testing out the new toys, she says, motioning around the bridge.
Not wanting to feel left out of the conversation, the unknown woman finally says, "You you may call me Narissa Marina. I lead this squadron. Um, we came to we came to retrieve our property. However, our scans show that it's simply deceased."
She nods. Would she looks at Dasan and say, in the sake of, uh, well, not shooting at each other, she says, would you mind if we shared the final 2 logs? I think it was 2 logs or 3.
The say
The
again?
logs.
The logs from the
Oh
ship.
yes. I'm for some reason I'm like, what the hell's the reef's logs have to do with this?
No,
No,
Uh,
no, she's
yes.
the
talking about the
Oh,
logs
I
from
get
the
that
Herodian
the
now.
ship.
I get
Herodian
that.
logs.
She's
Yeah.
basically asking Dasan for permission to share them with the unknown. The last few before it went dead. For their own vindication, as well as, proof that, we're not lying.
Um, Dasan shrugs and simply says, "That sounds like a uh quite a an amicable solution, an idea, Captain."
The captain nods and looks over at Jill and says, if you could, please. And send them to the Herodian as well. It is their ship after all.
Yeah, about 30 seconds later. Done.
Um, and as that filters through, you can actually see see Dasan get up and as Narissa's rifling through the logs, he says, uh, "Leader Narissa Marina, um, I well, I intend to destroy this Erosion ship. If you need to take your property from it, I suggest you do so." As um, she looks up through the view screen and her eyes actually glance over to your segment of the view screen.
She'll she'll nod and say, "Well, if you, I'd say that was a fair trade. It's technically their ship to do with as they please. So them asking if you want something is simply a formality," she says. Or a nicety is what she says. Nicety.
Um, Shrugging, Narissa simply says, "It's dead. It's of no use to us. However, I will admit to confusion over this chain of events."
Oh, perhaps I can provide some clarification.
Captain, this could be a first contact, perhaps an invitation.
She nods and holds up a finger to see how the woman reacts.
Um, just to be clear, that side conversation didn't happen within her earshot, correct?
No.
I wasn't trying to. No.
All right, no, just getting clarification. As um as uh as she I truly apologize, Captain. I forgot. Oh, you maybe you can clear it up. As as she looks to you and says, uh, "We're we're not overly used to meeting new species, and well, quite frankly, um, as she glances over to Dasan's side of the view screen, uh, this is not the resolution I had expected when I dropped out of warp."
Nero smiles and nods. Says, well, it was a good outcome, all things considered, she says.
That remains to be seen, she fires back.
Hmm. She nods and says, well, that being said, um, since we're all here, uh, if either one of you would like to come aboard and talk or.
Um, as Dasan is nodding, the woman pops up and says, um, uh, "That's not within my purview, Captain. I am within regulations to destroy you, not to treat with you. However, uh, we now have scanned your transponder code. I will take this information back to my government, and should one of them decide to extend communications, it will be done."
Of course, she says. Oh, one more frequency you might be needing. And she'll send the one for DS-17. Just in case.
Um, and as you do that, Arif, who's made his way down to the third and vacant chair um, of the bridge, actually, you know what? Why don't you give me a insight security uh, difficulty one? Oh, sorry, you made it.
Yep.
All right. So what I did, because I know that I forgot that you guys had a bonus momentum earlier, I'm gonna say that you have two now. But as you input the frequency and Arif sees it from the corner of his eyes, you can see him start to grumble, but uh, you can see a look in his eyes that he's actually pleased that you thought of it, and the grumbling is uh, more out of habit and circumstance than anything else. But as the woman nods, and her segment cuts off of the view screen, suddenly um, suddenly Dasan is the only vestige seen as it blows up and to twice the size, and he says, "Well, Captain, I quite frankly wouldn't mind taking advantage of your hospitality, though given relations between our species, I'd also understand if you would prefer to send an away team my way.
She looks between she looks between the two males on either side of her in this manwich that she's in. And she'll look at Desesh and say, "Have you ever seen the inside of a Herodian ship before?"
It would be the first time. Can
Excellent.
I take my luggage with me? I look over at the bomb.
No,
I
not this
understand.
time, she says. You will, however, be taking the old man with you. She points over at a reef.
And actually, just looking on at the view screen, seeing that you've been assigned it to Sesh, Dasan pops up and says, squinting to see the pips on your collar, he says, and Commander, I hope you will remember Starfleet Regulation 654, paragraph 5, that when beaming into a potentially hostile environment, no flag officer should go without a security team, an armed security team.
Who was saying that to me? The Herodian?
This time, yeah.
All right.
This gets an eyebrow raise from the captain.
I assume, given that I have Starfleet protocol as a focus, that he's right.
He is right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, while the DM might have just made up the number, it's
No, I'm aware of the actual protocol. I read it in the command book. But the doesn't flag officer mean admiral, though?
It means command officer.
Okay.
In this case, it means it would technically mean Nira, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
He's
I
flexing.
wouldn't be planning to be an away team of one. So yeah, I'll bring security. I look to Lawson if she wants to fulfill that role, in addition to some of her people.
Yeah. And you are taking a reef. Nira's
No,
like,
I
just
know,
take this
I know.
pain.
I felt the handoff.
and at
We'll be
that,
over momentarily, Captain.
please, just Dasan. And as the view screen winks out, it leaves you all on the bridge by yourself again.
Well, that was unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
Very unexpected.
Yes, I recommend we don't take anything particularly tempting in terms of technology with us.
The captain will nod. I trust your judgment, Commander.
Commander, I don't really know your background. I have some training with negotiation, but I would appreciate your support.
As Arif smiles at you, he says, "Well, I am the main means for ambassadorial duties on Deep Space 17, but the fact is, we're not on Deep Space 17, Commander, so while you certainly have my support, I think I think, what can I say? We might be in your backyard at this point, so I'm intent to follow your lead."
We start heading to the transporter room.
Excellent. And so, are you, just so I know, are you bringing anyone besides Jill and Arif?
I'm bringing Jill, Arif, and like 3 security officers.
Um,
All right.
Okay.
3 may be a little excessive. 1 should be enough. And if there is any
Well,
trouble, we still have the contingency ideas. I'm pretty sure the captain won't just
I
let them
chose
take.
3 because I wanted the other players to have like avatars. But okay.
Which is fair. It is your decision.
I mean,
I
the
wanted to project strength because otherwise, because if we look like easy prey, they're gonna like they could very well turn on us. It is kind
Counteract.
of a balance though, because they could consider us worthy prey, in which case we're screwed. But
yeah.
The counter idea is that we show up with too many people and it projects an aura of
Hostility.
of hostility, and will more than
split the
likely.
baby then. Just bring 2.
I would like to point out that we have already identified ourselves as a medical ship,
You think I should bring a
showing
doctor to like project that?
no. What I'm saying is if you look at Hirogen culture, we're doctors. We're not prey. Like we're not good prey because we're doctors.
There might be a reason why he singled me out though, and why he insisted on saying that I needed to bring security with me. He might be trying to target whatever defenses we do have.
Um, well, I mean, I can answer the singled you out. That's because you were told to lead the team in front of him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That I think
Yeah,
is
it
a
just
fair
kind of seemed like he
observation.
was taunting me though.
Yeah. Well. Um. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just bringing up the Ryzen wouldn't. I'm just bringing it up because the Ryzen wouldn't feel right if it at least wasn't discussed first. But as it was said before, it's your decision on how many people to take.
No, I think your point's reasonable. You, me, one security person, Arif. Uh, that seems reasonable.
Okay, and I'm actually gonna flip to the lab, but before I do, I'm gonna show you guys what you beam into. As you get set in the transporter room, and the transporter officer taps on the console a few times and swipes his hand up, the Nightingale starts to disappear, and as you start to beam in, you actually see some what could be characterized as familiar surroundings.
Hmm.
As it would appear that you're on the bridge of an Intrepid class starship. But while I let that sink in for a few minutes, let's head back to the lab where Um, we have we are back to Vanderveers, who has basically uh, started to come up with an idea of how to I guess combat this thing. Um, and as Doctor Mountain turns to you, just as the lights start to go back to normal, he says, "Do you do you still think? Do you think Doctor Hikari is still needed? Because she might be of some help with this situation too, given her own fields. I feel like though um, the breakthrough is suddenly, she was fun to work with.
Yeah, more people's better.
Um, and as Dr. Mountain absentmindedly goes back to the console, and us kind of overhearing sends Kiana a quick text message that should her duties permit, please report to the laboratory. And he turns around to Vanderveers and says, "Well, I think given the problem might be on my side of the field, but it seems like the solution's on yours. I'll be honest, I'm not sure where to start."
Potassium.
Potassium?
Potassium. Potassium iodide. If you take potassium iodide, it protects the thyroid from radiation a little bit. But we need something subatomic that will work the same in the lungs.
Um, and as Dr. Mountain starts to build on that idea, he says, and if I'm understanding you correctly, doctor, if we introduce it to the lungs, that should theoretically and quickly allow it to pass through the entire body. No,
Yeah, it'll travel right through the bloodstream.
and I'd say it's just about this time that Kiana comes in from the bridge as and us goes over quickly to kind of fill her in on what's been happening. Um, and as Dr. Mountain responds to Vanderveers by saying, "Oh, it's interesting. Is there no? I'm just spitballing here. Is there a reason we're introducing it to the lungs and not the blood specifically?"
Well, the damage is happening in the lungs. So, starting there, preventing that first amount of damage, or at least the most significant cause of damage, since it causes the hemorrhaging there, the rest of it seems to either have secondary symptoms. And if we can give this to the existing patients that are experiencing symptoms that haven't died yet, it will hopefully prevent any further damage, and then we can simply treat the symptoms.
Um, Nodding, he's saying so. Basically, instead of trying to prevent it, we just allow it to happen and inoculate ourselves once it does.
Yeah, the origin of this seemed to be localized in one section of space, so it doesn't have a traditional medical cause. And if you give this to people that are traveling through that area of space or through similar bursts out there, then you should be able to give it to them preemptively and prevent any initial infection. It's kind of non traditional.
Um, looking looking over at Kiana, Dr. Mountain says, "I know that you'd have no issues whatsoever replicating such a substance or thing on this ship, given its capabilities. But would well, would the populace at large be able to?"
Well,
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
I'm still operating from a medical perspective. Hakuri here is probably a little more familiar with the science aspect of it, and Starboy here has already blinded me with it.
Yeah, we just send over some information to them, and they should be able to synthesize it on their own and distribute and inoculate.
Might take a little bit of work to find the right type of weird subatomic particle that doesn't have anything to do with medicine, but
Yeah, let me see what I can work up on.
Um, and Dr. Mountain kind of nods as he says, uh, "True, true." And I was putting the cart behind the horse, or in front of the horse, as he goes to sit back down at the console and says, uh, "Ready to assist wherever I'm needed." As Andos kind of backs away a little bit, just kind of in the same position, uh, ready to ready to do what is required of him. Um, so I guess this first synthesis, or this first attempt, hmm, as as ooh, you know what? So why don't we do it this way? Simply only because Jake doesn't understand exactly how this treatment works. I'm gonna kind of abstract it a little bit. Um, and in order to make the first attempt, why don't we? I'm gonna do the thing again where I take both of your successes, add them together. Um, I'm gonna make the difficulty 6, but as long as it makes sense, I'll let you choose how you go about it. So there could be a lot of different options for attributes and disciplines, and I'll give you each one helper, Dr. Mountain and Andos. But I'm also gonna actually spend 2 threat to make the difficulty 7 because that's the magic number.
Um, will you take insight and science for it with the focus on well, there's quite a number. Unconventional thinking is kind of how I would like to go with it. And do I have a momentum to spend to get more dice?
Oh Christ! I
Or
just
Yes.
remembered. Nope, sorry, that wasn't directed at you. So
sorry.
first things first, just to clear up that, I would definitely take insight. I would definitely take insight medicine. I think, or insight science. I'm sorry, I mind blanked on what you said, and the focus would definitely work because it's kind of out of your out of your wheelhouse. Um, but I also remember that you guys have 2 bonus momentum. Um,
Which, if you can't think of anything here, I can think of something for our side on the Heroian ship.
Yeah, I got nothing.
sorry, I completely forgot about that.
If nobody has anything else, I was going to say that if the 2 floating momentum could go towards an advantage on understanding our unfamiliar visitors on the next time we interact with them.
Yeah, like maybe we have an advantage because of our translations.
Translations, the observing of the whole conversation, blended in with the whole mixed cultural experience of being a Ryzen on top of that, at least from Jill's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think Caleb had something, or Alphonse.
Yeah. With the DNA, just for one of those bonus momentum, does it seem to target one of the particular amino acids, one of your 4 base pairs, particularly more than the other ones?
Uh,
Adenine,
yeah.
guanine, cytosine, thiamine.
Hey, I was sitting there trying to remember one of them, and yes, adenine was. Yes, it targets the adenine at a level that is probably 3 or 4 times as much.
That just gives us somewhere to start a little bit more focus.
And I'll turn the advantage into one momentum thing, so that gets rid of the bonus momentum.
Okay.
Because, well, I'm not going to say why, but yeah, I think that it's certainly fair that that specific one only costs one.
Excellent.
Yeah. So as you kind of hunker down to, I guess, for lack of better phrasing, figure out a way to protect the adenine section of the DNA and, well, quite frankly, uh, inoculate or protect against future damage of the same type. Um, let's. So we know Kiana's going with insight and science. What are we
Yeah.
thinking, Vanderveers?
I was going to go reasons medicine.
I can definitely accept that. So the both of you, once again, each of you does have an assist available, um, and the difficulty is 7.
Okay, I still would like to use the momentum for that. And am I clear to roll?
Absolutely.
All right, let's see what we're going with. Ah, jeez. Can I spend a determination?
Can. Probably won't. I'd say wait until see what everybody
Yeah.
else rolls first.
Yeah, let's see what everybody else, the assist rolls and stuff.
Go ahead and
Before
do
I
your
reroll.
assist too.
Say again, Vanderveer?
I was just saying she can go ahead and do her assist as well. Just get that out of the way.
Alrighty. So let me. It probably makes sense for Andas to assist her and Mountain to assist you. Um,
I can roll on Dust's assist. I got him up, still pulled up.
all right. Let's
You
go with
can,
science for the assist.
and for Kiana, if you have a determination, you can use it to re-roll that.
Yeah, we're just seeing what the others how the
Yeah,
others roll
that's
first.
that's what I was kind of going with.
You say control science?
Yes, sir. And Mountain's actually going to assist you with control medicine.
I would like 2 extra dice for 3 momentum.
I will take it.
And I do have cautious medicine as well, so that helps. Reroll to 0.
Okay, so we're at 5 right now.
I'm going to spend a determination and under the not afraid to get my hands dirty and re-roll that 0.
No, you can reroll all 3.
Okay.
Wait. I'll tell you what. So I'm definitely gonna allow that, but because of the value, would you? And you don't have to say yes, but would you accept that if you end up completely flubbing the roll again, uh, because you're not afraid to get your hands dirty? Actually, you know what?
The
Never
first
mind.
cure
Go
gets
for it.
tested on you.
That's I. Feel free to continue and pretend I didn't say anything.
Sure.
But yeah, you can re-roll all 3.
Okay.
Much better.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Okay. Um, as the as the four work in the lab simultaneously, Mountain and Vanderveer on the medical aspect, while Kiana and Andos on the science aspect and the actual production aspect. Um, the Vanderveers, you can see that as Mountain is kind of steadily transmitting you data, and actually not only from your own experiment, but it turns out that his nurse, while he's on the holodeck, the Gugnir has brought a couple more infected victims to DS-17, and the nurse is running autopsies in tandem as the information starts flowing in. And as you as you start to create this potassium concoction, um, the 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 diagnostic chamber starts to at least in the simulations, it looks like it's uh, effectively attacking the or not attacking, but it's effectively combating the damage. Um, but it looks like something in that volatility of solution is causing the cells to um, is causing the cells to die from the reaction. So while you fixed the issue, um, or at least while you've found a quote cure, it certainly needs to be modulated to a point so it can actually be um, intaked. And as as the doctor, as Doctor Mountain forwards you a couple more figures, and you start to tweak it. Why don't you give me one more reason or control with medicine? Uh, difficulty difficulty 2 for the modulation.
Sorry, I had a slight issue.
Oh no, you're good.
Is it white and fuzzy?
No, something got closed out by
Ah,
mistake. I'm an idiot, and I will change. Said reason medicine.
Yes, sir. Difficulty 2.
Squash that.
Are you sure?
Yes, please.
Okay. As you hear the rampant disappointment as Dr. Mountain um, starts sending you some of the data that he's synthesizing this on Deep Space 17 using some of the having the nurse introduce it to some of the well autopsy candidates and as you start to find the maximum dosage that is allowable by pretty much the general populace, you realize that there's a couple species out there, namely one like your captain, that are, well, quite frankly, a little bit more susceptible to these type of things, and you're able to modulate the chemical makeup to kind of account for those as well, and almost as the four of you start finish your work and us kind of just looks up at the three of you and says, "Did you guys really just do that?"
I mean, we still have to figure out a way for codon stabilization, but effectively, yeah. There may be a mild loss of hair for some patients as a side effect.
uh, to which Doctor Mountain simply chuckles and says, "Well, not a problem for us, Doctor."
What do you mean?
As his face falls as he looks at your um, bald head, and you see his hand kind of rub against his own, he says, "Nothing, nothing. This is wonderful work."
You, you too.
um, and as uh, as Doctor Mountain sits down, hoping his jest went unnoticed. We're gonna flip quickly to the Herodian interior, where uh, Jill Desesh, Arif, and um, your security guard Sasha Debut have beamed into what appears to be an Intrepid class bridge.
His name was Dinesh? Dinesh?
Hassan.
Something?
Dasan.
Dasan.
Dasan. Dasan, sorry. Okay. Dasan, I'm Commander Sesh of the Nightingale. Uh, Thank you for this invitation. We hope to learn something of why you are in this part of space. While I'm talking, I'm kind of looking around because I kind of want to try and suss out, first of all, who the other guy is, and I'm also trying to get kind of a read on these two.
Um, okay. Uh, well, I'll say that uh why don't, and Jill, you can do this too. Why don't you make either insight security, or why not skis insight medicine. I'm sorry, not insight medicine. Insight security or insight command. Difficulty 2.
Mhm. Um, this isn't a persuasion check, right? So
No, this is more like basically a perception or
this is giving away my suspicions a little bit. But by any chance, does the focus of holography affect this?
the focus of holography will certainly affect this.
All right. I am going to make my roll then. What was my target? Sorry.
2. And Jill, if you are, this is basically like a perception check if you want to get in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll do that.
So
Starfleet call is a focus.
Strangely enough, yes.
That is strangely enough. Same.
Okay. So first things first, it's almost apparent immediately to you, Disesh, that you do know where you beamed into, um, and you're either essentially, yes, on a holodeck, or this ship has gone through an extensive remodeling.
yeah,
However, uh, the other thing that the both of you notice is that Dasan himself is
a
sit-
hologram.
no, but he is
No,
sitting
I'm
much.
surprised.
He's sitting very much like he almost looks. So yes, you're on a Federation starship, but while he's clad in Hirogen battle armor, he looks quite frankly like he belongs there. And in as you're both kind of checking this out, in almost perfect, in almost perfect Starfleet form, Dasan stands up and uh, greets the four of you and says, "As you know, I'm Dasan. I'd like to introduce you to my brother, Diam. Um, and as I'm sure you've no doubt surmised, yes, you. This is not as my ship truly appears. I simply wish to make the four of you more comfortable for our uh, initial greeting."
So I have the talent of cold reading, and
Okay.
so I was intending to use the my extra question to confirm that these are actually Hirogen, because I have my suspicions.
Um. Yes.
Are they biological beings? That'll be my question.
These are real flesh and blood Hirogen.
Okay.
It'd be kind of hard to tell just from looking at them. And
I'm adding in the scans from the ship.
Well, I mean, there's things like smell that I could probably use too. But
Actually, ironically enough, no, you couldn't with Hirogen. They don't release a scent.
hmm,
What good
anyway,
would a hunter be if they released a scent?
well, I mean, there are plenty of hunters that do after they've been drinking.
Yes,
No, I
but
know. It's just
none that are as good as Hirogen.
Hmm.
no. It's just
Anyway,
it's literally written into their bio. It's just one of
yeah.
those weird
Well,
things.
I missed that. But I say, uh, so uh, well, we consider ourselves more comfortable, but how can we help you? I mean, is it your intention to stay in Federation space?
Smiling slightly, says, "Oh no, no, of course not. After all, we aren't in Federation space presently. However, it is my intention to stay somewhere within the area."
Most of Federation contact with your people was primarily in the Delta Quadrant. You've come a long way.
Um, Nodding, he says, "I have. In fact, it was um, my father who was one of the Hirogen who um, did make one of the first contacts with your people."
Explains your knowledge of the layout, but
Jill's got a look
ha-
of recognition.
have you come this way for further assistance? You can understand, like, given our previous encounters, that your propensity for hunting could cause difficulties, tensions.
Of course, he says, and then he actually looks to Diane for a second and says, um, "Perhaps my own idea in making you comfortable might also be misunderstood given that situation." And he says, and I actually, I should also note that usually when you're talking to alien species, you get their kind of the buzzing of their own language before the UT kind of filters it
Hmm.
out for you. And um, you're not. You're not actually experiencing that right now. Dasan's actually speaking in Federation Standard.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm getting a distinctly assimilated vibe from these guys that it's one of the reasons why I was suspecting that they may not be Hirogen, but uh,
um, but he looks up slightly and says, "Computer, end program," and the room kind of
To
vanishes.
cancel, please go to your
Computer,
Amazon
stop.
Music settings on the web.
uh-huh.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be.
Uh,
All right, we're clear.
Okay,
and
this is interesting.
and as the scene fades, it switches over to the Hirogen Bridge, and it's still. Please make no worry. You know what? We're just gonna put M right here. Um, and it switches over to a Hirogen Bridge, as Dasan says. Please understand that this had nothing to do with subterfuge. It was simply an attempt to grease the wheels, as it were. Um, However,
I
you
will say
are
your depiction of an intrepid class was fairly accurate.
um, with that. Dasan smiles a little bit, and as he says, "Yes, my father had several weeks, unfortunately, to study it."
So I've read.
Um, and
Are you here in spite of or in furtherance of your father's previous interactions with the Federation?
smiling at that comment, Desan says, well, both, in fact. Um, and as as he leans against his console, he says, as it turns out, why I'm specifically here was, as you saw, to destroy that rogue ship. However, why I'm in this area of space, well, quite frankly, um, yes, as it seems you all know that you had a starship in the Delta Quadrant. Yes, it was taken over by my people, my pack specifically. However, I was not fully grown at the time. I did not take place in the hunt. However, the resolution to that incident was that the captain of that starship, well, gave us some technology that you have just seen us employ.
Indeed.
Well, it got my father to thinking, and quite frankly, with the advent of this technology, he reasoned that, well, quite frankly, our people no longer had to be nomads. Quite an unpopular opinion, if you ask me.
All right. You're searching for a home or you found one?
We are searching for a home. We do appreciate this area of space, and, well, quite frankly, we appreciate the Federation as well. At least my pack does, and, well, I think we'd like to be a little closer than the Delta Quadrant.
I appreciate your desire to be very distinct about your pack, but I do have to ask. When I was aboard the ship that we just encountered, the logs indicated that they were intending to hand off their package to other Hirogen that are here. Can you reassure me that that wasn't you?
I can not only reassure you that that wasn't me, but I can assure you that until there will be no breaking ground of a new home until the entirety of that renegade pack is destroyed.
So this is and
Personal,
uh,
he finishes for you.
I was going to say an internal matter. You seem to be well aware of the nature of Starfleet protocol, and surely you're familiar with our tendency to step away in the event that there are internal conflicts between members of a species.
Yes, Regulation 254-7, paragraph C, subsection 2.
Now, naturally, we're sympathetic with your goals, but uh, we would like to know the what interactions you've had with this other pack and what presence they have in this territory.
The pack traveled with us to the Alpha Quadrant and have decided since that they don't want to embrace our way of life. Now, had they decided to go back their own way, well, we would not be in conflict. However, they've decided to sully our intentions and, well, quite frankly, leave a bad impression of us in this area of space, and that can't be tolerated.
Are you prepared to tell me how many ships broke away?
Well, uh, for, well, He's about to say 14, but then looking at the view screen, he smiles a little bit as he says, 13. There's 13 left now.
I hate to say it, but given the number here, it rather gives the impression that you broke away from them.
We are. Um, Dasan looks again to his brother-in-law, who is yet to say anything, and he gives you a little chuckle as he says, "Well, we are not the only ones searching. Our our numbers are in the dozens."
I kind of want to get a read on that, but I'm going to let it slide in the moment. uh,
Jill
is it
will
your?
Jill will do an insight roll on
All
if
right,
he's
we'll stop for that then.
if he's
Sure.
telling the truth on if there's dozens.
I'd say insight security or insight command difficulty opposed. Um, let's do opposed versus Dasan's
Hmm.
presence command. Would it be presence? Yes,
Uh,
it would.
does Lawson want to support me? Uh, just a thought, or are we just going to roll separately?
For both going, I can do an assist roll for it with you.
Because I've got cold read, so I'll get more out of it if I lead.
And I can see if I can get you a reroll.
But um, I'm gonna spend one threat for an extra dice.
Do we have momentum?
You have one
I'll
momentum.
throw. Okay. Now this is like, does my bargain kick in at this point? Because this is a social challenge, and so I theoretically can re-roll a die.
I would say yes.
Okay,
By name, no, but by intentions, yes. So,
we're feeling each other out here. Okay, what did I roll? Not great, but I can re-roll one.
Okay, leadership as a focus.
yes.
Okay. Disesh, you can re-roll an extra 0.
Okay. Okay. So that would be
That's 3 against 4.
Um, he, how do I put this? While you can't, he's a little difficult to read. The both of you are probably leaning towards him telling the truth, but you don't really have much concrete
mhm.
anything to go by.
All right. Are you prepared to uh, participate in a dialogue with the Federation, since you want to put the right foot forward? We could arrange for a legitimate, perhaps more formal meet and greet between your people and ours.
Um, and actually, as you say that, Arif is gonna step up and simply add to it just by saying, um, "I'm sure you've noticed the rather large space station just a few light years distant. Um, I am the commander of that station, and at the moment, I just like to I would like to offer you, should you ever need it, a ambassadorial suite, um, reserved for your benefit, should you choose. And then, kind of stepping back again, Dasan looks between the two of you and he says, um, it it could certainly be arranged, as I've said. We do intend to be in this area of space, and we don't intend to make a nuisance of ourselves. And we've certainly seen what happens when we try to with the Federation.
That gets a smile from Jill.
I'm willing to appreciate that you are being open-handed about the situation, and I certainly hope that this is the beginning of a very fulfilling dialogue. But I have to be worried about the 13 ships that are out there that are operating on the old ways and very likely could prove to be a menace to a lot of the people near here. Are you prepared to give us the means to locate those ships?
Um, Looking at you, he says, I'll happily send over you their transponder codes, but they're no longer relevant. Believe me, could we locate these ships, they would have already been destroyed.
Understood, but we'd at least like to, have some basic information of their layout, perhaps crew complement, anything you can give us.
Um, Smiling, he says, well, their layout and typical crew complement are already within your database, as we both know. However, their individual transponder codes, and he takes out a little data cube, and you know what? He simply tosses it lightly towards all of your direction.
I'll catch it.
Okay.
And as you do, he says, uh, once again, this information is completely irrelevant, but consider it a show of good faith. And
Would you like to arrange a time for us to meet again?
um, if I may, Arif prop blah, comes back up again. Um, I see no reason why any of this needs to be strenuous. Why don't we, quite frankly, all travel to Deep Space 17 together? And then we can have a good and hopefully fruitful meeting, not in an area of space that, well, quite frankly, is seemingly a little hostile. And, well, if nothing else, perhaps I could, you could give me a ride along the way, and I could show you. And then we could all meet back up at Deep Space 17.
Jill is going to gently elbow Desesh.
Desesh looks back at her and sort of kind of nods because he can see what's happening too. But he says, "Yes, Lieutenant Commander."
That's gonna. Arif is under our purview at the moment. We'll have to clear that with the captain.
Certainly.
Oh, I'm sure she won't mind being rid of me for a few days.
As
If
likely
you don't
as
mind, I'd like to communicate with my
be
captain.
made aware.
I am going to step to the side. I'm going to encourage Lawson to come with me.
And seeing what's happening, both Diam and Dasan will basically pivot to the corner of the bridge to kind of give you the most amount of space that the most privacy they can really afford given the situation.
Yeah.
Commander.
Seshta Morgana.
Go ahead, Commander.
Well, the things seem to be going in a fairly positive direction here. These Hirogen claim to want to be opening up diplomatic relationship with the Federation. Arif stepped in. He has started advocating for staying with the Hirogen and trying to broker some sort of peace at Deep Space 17. Do we allow that to go forward, or do we want to stay involved here?
No, it should be fine. If you're at all worried about him, you can. If we're going to meet him back at DS-17, you can leave a couple security with him.
All right,
Jill will just
I'll let
shrug.
him know. Yeah, the Sesh, like, just kind of nods. Okay, he gets to poach it. And I wander over to Arif. Commander, if you want to take point here, if you like, my security officer will stay with you, and we'll pick her back up when we're back at 17.
Of course. Um, and seeing that the communication has ended, Dasan and Dan walk back up and Dasan says, and if it would make you feel any better, well, we can classify this, even though, yes, we do know of the station and we do know it's not terribly far. From what I understand, the Federation does have an officer exchange program. Should you feel more comfortable in having one of our own aboard your ship for the duration of the trip, that would be more than acceptable.
The Sesh looks to Arif because he's kind of like trying to see that he's kind of taking point on the negotiation. So
He simply shrugs as if to say, not my ship.
That may not be necessary at this time. This right now, this is just. It's not necessary at this time. This is just a diplomatic envoy at the moment, but we wouldn't say no to an exchange program at a later time after initial relations have been established.
Uh, Nodding, Dasan says, excellent. Because, well, quite frankly, from the outside, your ship looks quite impressive, and I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a chance to see the inside, seeing how it compares to the Voyager.
it was a pleasure meeting you.
It was, wasn't it?
If